Hello, listener. What you're about to hear is a Warui Deshou Patron Unlock. This is material which our Patreon supporters have early access to. If you'd like to experience these episodes when they're at their freshest, become a Warui Deshou patron today at patreon.com/WARUIDESHOU.
Warui Deshou.
What's up, doglet detectives? Welcome, ladies, gentlemen, and NBs, one and all, to second stream. It's Warui Deshou's series, where we're covering, this time round, Kabukicho Sherlock by patron request. And it's me, the subtle doctor, and the hardest working man in pod business, Shadon.
Hey everyone, how's it all going?
We're traveling through the mean streets and seedy underbelly of our fair Shinjuku ward, Kabukicho.
As presented in the show proper.
And indeed.
Okay, I'll be fair. The criminal elements has been more developed over the past two episodes. So that's good, I guess.
Indeed. But basically Las Vegas, Japan is what I always think of when I see the big elephant.
Oh, so Blackpool
signs.
in Japan then. Oh no. Oh no. That's awful.
Where's the Blackpool Pleasure Beach?
Don't
One of the great moments in podcast history when you talked about Blackpool Pleasure Beach.
It's less seedy than it sounds, surprisingly enough, although I'm going to be banned from it going back to that city with all I've ever talked about it because it's got genuine problems. So I'm not going to rag on it too much. But anyway, yeah, let's get to Kabukicho Sherlock episode 6.
What's the name of this episode?
Kobayashi stands up,
does a thing.
Yeah.
Oh man, I'm going to check Hulu really quickly.
If that's not an indicator, by the way, folks, about the problem we might be facing with the show, then believe me, I will elaborate on it a bit. Although I will say up front that we are actually now 2 for 6, 33%, if you will, on good Sherlock episodes. But note that I said good Sherlock episodes, not good episodes per se, which will be a point that I will come to in a moment.
Kobayashi the man giving it his all.
Yeah, that's
the name of the episode.
That's certainly true. I just wish the writers were doing that as well.
Oh no! Shots fired. Shots fired.
Yeah, I'm just saying, right? Okay, so if you're not familiar, by the way, folks, this is our second stream format, so there is no plot summary or plot recap except where it's appropriate and where it's relevant to us covering certain talking points that we'll have about the episode, like providing context. So we're going to assume that you've seen it, assuming that you're one of the other 5 people on the planet, apart from myself and Doc, who are actually still watching the show. We will find out, I'm sure. Anyway, talking points. Do you want to start first, this one, Doc, or shall I?
Yeah, I mean, I can start. I have a pretty short list of things, to be truthful. This episode, like we were saying, not a whole lot happened. I just wanted to look up, by the way, while we were talking. You know, you mentioned 5 people on the planet still watching this. So I went to anichart.net to look at the satisfaction ratings.
Oh, damn.
So they have like they list all the shows by season, and then there's like a little rating. Like Stars Align, for instance, there's a 74% satisfaction rating. Chihaya Furu 3 has an 80%, as you'd expect. Fans that have stuck with that show for this long are gonna be into it. I'm trying to think of like a good comparable. Okay, so something called like Val X Love. I don't know if you pronounce the X.
Come on! You know it's a cross. Get it right. We've had this argument. We've had this argument over Hunter Cross Hunter thousands of times.
No, it's Hunter. It's not cross.
Bullshit.
If you listen, they say the name of the show in the show, and it's just Hanta.
Well, they're wrong. They are wrong about they are the flat earthers of anime. I tell you that. Fucking really. Anyway, right. Never mind.
Grand Blue Fantasy Season 2 has a 65%.
Well, the 35% who didn't like it were the people who didn't win their gacha rolls that week, so there you go.
I know, it's true. Babylon has a 72.
Okay.
It's on the higher end.
Don't talk to me about that fucking show. Oh my god.
So No Guns Life has a 66. That seems like pretty accurate. That seems pretty on point. And then we go to Sherlock has a 59%, and it's so low that the icon is a frowny face.
Well, it depends on what grading curve you're going with, because it's like, with video games on Metacritic, if you grade it lower than 85, it's just garbage. It's absolute garbage.
Yes.
And if you think I'm kidding, that's what cost Obsidian, a bonus they were promised when they released Fallout New Vegas, because they got an 84. Pedantic fuckers that the publishers Bethesda were. Bunch of wankers.
Dude, I was listening to somebody talk about the Joker movie.
Oh boy.
And they were just like, oh man, I didn't like it. Yeah, it wasn't for me. I was not into it all. 7 out of 10. I was like, wait a minute. What?
There's a whole subgenre of Steam reviews where they do stuff like that, where they have like 100 hours on record playing a game and they say, nope, hated it. Anyway, we really need to get back on track here. Okay. I know this is going to be tricky, but we've got to get on with this.
Yeah. So at the beginning of the episode, there was like a fun moment with Kobayashi, who he woke up with all these things drawn on him. He was having a dream, I guess, about his old Yakuza life, and he woke up in a pile of garbage because he drank too much, and he had all this stuff drawn all over him. Yeah, who hasn't, right? I mean, who among us hasn't had like the Dreamcast symbol drawn on our forehead when we wake up?
Wow, that's really when you know you're obsolete.
Yes, and so he's like walking down the street in nothing but boxers, flanked by all these children.
Yeah,
it's a really fun moment when he first encounters Sugimoto there.
Sugimoto,
the super weirdo guy.
Can I just add, this entire episode to me felt like, imagine if you're Hirohiko Araki, who of course does JoJo's, and imagine that you are furiously scribbling away design concepts for characters for JoJo's Part 5, Golden Wind, and you decide, right, I don't want this one, I don't want this one either, and then you decide you're going to throw them in the recycling bin. And then imagine that you're the character designer for Kabukicho Sherlock, and you're going through said recycling bin, and you're like, yes! I've got the characters I need for this episode. Because I would totally buy that both Sugimoto and his brother, who looks like a giant pimple, or like he's got like gigantism from drinking that tonic from The Simpsons that affected the baseball player. Like, I would totally buy that they're JoJo rejects, like, the first versions of Pesci and whatever the other gentleman was, the one who looks like a giant turnip, or possibly an executor if you're a Pokemon fan. God. He really does. He really does. Gosh. So yeah, man, those fucking characters.
So like, that's funny. What I thought about Sugimoto was definitely like, okay, whoever was in the writer's room, or at the director's chair for this episode. It's this character felt like an inside joke. You know what I mean? It felt like, oh, Bill, what if we put Bill in Sherlock? Wouldn't it be hilarious? You know what I mean? Like, we know a guy just like this. Wouldn't he be funny as a Yakuza? And it felt like they did that because, I don't know, it was very specific. It was like, guy who pops a lot of Ramune, very sugary candy, goes through like weird kind of spells where he is like chopping at the sun, and engages in some really horrible like rap all of a sudden, which should have been really funny, but really didn't hit me as very funny at all.
Yeah. This again to me felt like we're going to throw stuff at the wall and see what sticks for the sake of being kooky. And
Yeah.
okay, that's fine and all, but you might want to also have an actual story going on here.
Yeah, at least they weren't punching down with the throwing crap against the wall this time.
Indeed, no Mrs. Hudson in this episode whatsoever, as a matter of fact.
Nope.
Nor Mary, nor Lucy, in fact, nor half the other detectives. Which, I don't know what that says about the show, where, the characters just are only relevant every now and again, but anyway. Right, okay, so what do I want to get into? This is going to be one of those, folks, where I'm just going to say up front, like, I liked this episode on my first viewing, and on the second time, But here's the thing, right? This is one of those rare instances, or maybe not so rare, where you can look at an episode of a show and you can rate it 2 times over. You can rate it as a contribution to the wider show's worth, if it's like, got a serial storyline, which Sherlock does, despite its insistence that it doesn't. Because, I mean, I'm sorry, you don't introduce Jack the Ripper and also Watson's, tracking device conspiracy nonsense, and Moriarty's, maybe possibly actually alive / existing / real / not hallucination sister. You don't introduce all those 3 things, get a quarter of the way through and develop, let's see here, none of them at all. We barely got even the footnotes of any of these, so thanks for that. Okay, there's that, and then you can just rate it its own. So, I like the episode in a vacuum. It's a nice little look at a character. It's not anything exceptional or super detailed. Like I said with Lucy's episode, it's been done better elsewhere. It isn't as good as Lucy's episode either.
No.
But hey, it's something. It's still above average. It's still acceptable. It's just slightly above satisfactory. That's fine. That's good even. But as a contribution to the show proper, I could probably have skipped this without consequence. And that's the thing, right? When you're doing a show that has a serial storyline, like, an ongoing plot, or plots even, and you can skip an episode outright where, well, okay, maybe that's a bit too broad of a stroke, because there can be, standalone episodes in certain shows. I think you and I have discussed this with things like Ghost in the Shell. But they still, contribute to an ongoing cast of characters that remain relevant after the fact. What has Kobayashi done before this? Nothing really. What has he done after this? I don't know, but
we don't know.
But I don't see how it's like a big deal. Like learning all this backstory about him, that's the problem. And funnily enough, this will now lead into our Patreon question for this, because it's relevant to what I'm about to talk about. So we may as well cover this. This comes from Blinkarji, and Blinkarji says the following. What do you think about the character-driven stories with sprinklings of overarching story that we've been seeing with this episode and the last? He adds also, personally, I'm really liking them and feel it could easily open up room for more complex, interesting cases in the same style as earlier episodes. Here's my problem. And I'm going to bring up our favourite, bastard child anime show again, Darling in the Franxx, the one I compared last time. Because you might recall, Doc, when we covered that show, after episode 6, and then a little further along after they got the prerequisite, fucking beach episode out of the way, and then all the shit with the fucking showers and, segregating the dorms and all that crap that, they started having individual character-focused episodes.
Yeah.
Okay, fair enough. That's not a bad thing in of itself. And I will credit Franxx this. For all that ultimately it came to naught, those individual character episodes did give us more insight into the wider world. They, helped flesh out a little bit more. I don't get what this episode adds to our overall understanding of the world of Sherlock. I mean, yeah, we've got the Bob Boss back again. That doesn't change much. Like, what do we gain from this as far as building on our understanding of the wider world and helping advance the plot? Because I'm going to be honest here, I'm getting really bored really fast of Moriarty, constantly looking at pressed clovers and looking dour and all that. I'm like, it's the same shit again as Franxx. Like, get to the point. Give us something more. Constantly reminding us that there's dark shit going on with, and I again must stress this because it's part of the baggage of the Sherlock mythos that they've imported wholesale in here, James Moriarty having dark shit going on. I'm like, yeah, duh. We got anything else? You know, does this bar serve anything other than tap water? Can we get a move on here? Like, I don't mind character-driven episodes like this in general or in a vacuum, if they, you know, help enhance a character who is integral to the plot, give us more of an understanding of them. And that is not happening here. I mean, at least not as far as I can tell now. Like, I didn't even remember who Kobayashi was until this episode started, because his appearances thus far have been completely perfunctory. It doesn't, you know, bring us any more info on Watson's, like, you know, own case that he's given to Sherlock. It doesn't advance the Jack the Ripper stuff. Jack the Ripper's not mentioned at all. And Moriarty, again, like, we get reminded that there's some deep, dark, bad shit going on with him. Thanks a bunch. I already know that. Like, you know, is like the show stuttering like a vinyl that's been put on wrong at an angle? You know, do you want to reset the needle on it, perhaps? So, I like the episode in a vacuum, but we're now 6 episodes in. I can't tell you what the heck the plot of the show even is. I can't tell you, like, you know, anything more than I really knew in the first 2 episodes once we figured out Watson's, like, you know, whole background.
Right.
I don't know anything more really about Moriarty stuff. Like, I'm not saying again that all these things need to be revealed in full right now, but you're juggling 3 different plots here, and you've given us very, very little. I'm not, like, a show like this, like, if it wants to give us these character episodes, it should, if it's not going to develop the plot, make us want to come back and check in with the characters later. But Kobayashi is a secondary character, and he's a secondary character whose involvement thus far has been very minimal. So I have no real enthusiasm, like, outside of course, watching this for the podcast, to come back next week based on how I responded to this episode. I wasn't like, hey, I want to see more of this. Whereas I did with Lucy. Like, I watched Lucy's episode and I came away thinking, hey, I'd like to see more of this stuff with her relationship with her sister. But Kobayashi's, like, little arc here is resolved, and that's it.
Yeah, like, that's... I'm along the same lines as you, because I didn't think this was a bad episode, but I also didn't come away from it feeling any kind of excitement for the show. I guess you could argue it was like more of a world-building exercise, like about Kabukicho and, you know, the irregulars and the criminals, the Yakuza, the bad Yakuzas, like Sugimono. And focus on Kobayashi specifically to build him up. But, you know, like you said, like, I don't know. It's tricky because this episode is meant to get you to like him, but it's like that there's this threshold that they've crossed already where I don't really feel like I can muster up the energy and incentive to care that much about liking him.
Mm-hmm.
You know, because we're given a couple of pretty sweet moments here, like the
manga stuff is great.
With the Osamu Tezuka character, you know, the why are you doing this for me? Oh, because everyone around me has given up on life except for you, so I want you to continue to dream. And then he got to later on, like, become a published mangaka. That was really great. The fact that he cares about the kids at all. Like, I don't know, I found it interesting that the detectives actually give a shit about the irregulars, besides Moriarty. Like, the rest of the house actually seems to like them and care, like, if they're doing well, which is kind of interesting and cool. But it was nice at the time. It was like an warm feeling, but, like, there's not really, I don't know, there's not really anything more to it than that for me with Kobayashi. I don't know. I just was left, like I said, without that there wasn't, like, the same kind of hook I had with Lucy and Mary, where I was still interested despite their story having their little dilemma last episode having wrapped up. So yeah, I'm pretty much with you. I mean, and the larger story, I mean, we get the clover thing where did he accidentally, Moriarty, step on the clover? I don't really know.
He might have done, but again, like Moriarty's like, collecting clovers because they're of his sister or something. I'm like, I don't care anymore for these like, really, really like, brief reminders of a thing that we already know. I know that perhaps maybe that's my impatience speaking, and you're free to judge.
No. Look, we're a quarter of the way through the show. We're halfway through the first core. I think it's entirely fair to expect more than clover. Look at this clover.
You know what I'd have settled for? If I were doing this episode, instead of a clover, I would have had Moriarty pull out a picture of her so we can at least know what she looks like. That's all that would have been needed. That would have been enough. But we just got a repeat of something we already know. So,
I know.
And that bothers me. And I should add, by the way, there's something else.
Maybe we're missing something, right? I mean, maybe it means something to someone. I don't know.
I actually looked up four-leaf clovers the previous time that we did this to try and find if there was any hidden meanings to them or symbology, but I couldn't find anything. But there's something else I need to mention.
Your luck has run out. I don't know.
Oh my god. But there's something else I need to mention. Like, putting character-driven episodes into a show is also a function of a show's like narrative arc. Like, if you've ever seen and there's a graph I think that's been passed around on Twitter and social media in the past, which relates to the narrative arc of the first Star Wars movie. You have, rising tension, action, downtime, rising tension, action, downtime. Repeat ad nauseum with greater peaks and troughs as we go along. I mean, you can map that over a lot of films and a lot of television that happen these days. So, to go back to Frank's, we had a 6-episode build-up, mostly focused on around episode 5, because episode 5 was the best one of the show, building up to this giant fight that happens between the Klaxosaurs and our heroes in episode 6. Now, in fact, that went so far as to, climax at that point. It felt to me like the end of an actual season when it wasn't. But here's the point I'm making. Following that arc, downtime was welcome. It doesn't mean it was good in the end. I mean, we've had plenty of problems with Frank, you and I, but downtime was merited. It made sense from a dramatic perspective to have that. But in Sherlock's case, we've had no escalation at this point, to merit the downtime where we have these character-focused episodes. The show has been entirely sizzle at this point. There's been, we've had no build-up to a big moment and then this downtime. And the big moment doesn't even need to be related to the downtime. I'm just saying that we've just simply had nothing of that sort up until now. And that's why I feel also dissatisfied with it, because I'm thinking, when is it picking up?
That's a great question. I would like to know that.
So it's not just a case of simply, sorry, go on.
Can we put the show on hold until it picks up?
Oh, no, we can't. Look,
no.
But, that's the point. Simply putting a character-focused episode in a wider show, it's fine, but you need to place it appropriately. And I'm willing to wager that I could probably, unless there's some more Kobayashi stuff later, I wager you could probably move this episode around without consequence. In fact, I'll tell you for free, because of how, inconsequential, the overall results of this episode was, I could probably slot this before episode 3 without anyone noticing. If I told you that it went episode 1, 2, 6, 3, 4, 5, you'd probably have no idea. Because the continuity, what you need to know prior, apart from who Kobayashi is, that's it.
Do the kids call this filler, I think?
I think they do. And like I say, it's good filler.
That's probably harsh. Cause,
it really is. It is filler. And the thing is, it wouldn't be filler if, we had that downside built up, as I mentioned. But we haven't. So, I don't know, that's why I feel so dissatisfied with what I, in a vacuum, appreciate as being a decent, if not good, episode. Because we have everything else that the show's pointed out and made apparent up until this point, and it's not doing anything with it.
There was no mystery this episode.
No Rakugo.
Interesting. Nope, no Rakugo.
In fact, I don't even think we got a recap of the mystery solving process. It was very bare. And it was just pretty much Kobayashi and Sugimoto doing, mixing it up.
Right.
Also, apparently Kobayashi is so hard-headed that he can have a bowling ball dropped on him without dying. Like, how he's not dead or without, catastrophic brain damage is beyond me. I mean, I have a sister who's a doctor, and I'd be willing to wager that if I said to her, what do you reckon the effect would be of having a bowling ball dropped in your head? She'd say, best case scenario, induced coma. Worst case scenario, off to the funeral directors.
Instant death, yes.
And I'm not mocking the show or taking the piss out, I just found that funny. I should stress, by the way, there were little moments that were amusing, like the flying headbutt that Sugimoto delivers. That was
cross-counter?
Yeah, the cross-counter.
He goes across the counter
to
headbutt him?
Oh, man, yeah, exactly. That was fun.
Yeah. Okay, so two elements I think might make it not filler. One being the flashbacks to Kobayashi, because this would be probably the only episode where you can get that, if later that informs his character, right? The other one being the top Yakuza boss has another kind of established connection to another one of the detectives. That might be important later, depending on how he goes, because you're just kind of slowly seeing how he's connected to every single person besides Sherlock in the detective house. I think will be how it plays out, because we got Watson, we got Lucy, and by Lucy, Mary, and now we have Kobayashi. Wouldn't shock me if the Neat Freak detective and also Mrs. Hudson get episodes in the future where they're connected to him. And
Richard, or aka Dickie Belmont.
Oh yeah, right. The ex-cop.
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh god, if we get like a scene of him smoking a cigarette at a police table, interrogating someone, I could just see it happening now in my future. So yeah, I don't really know what else to say about this episode other than just to point out that, I liked it. I think that, even the arc itself, the story, if it were fleshed out more, could be quite engaging. But I also should note that, Kobayashi's, change of heart from, give me my money, you you lanky streak of piss, when he's like that, the arc from that to him, maybe potentially even falling in love with him, given his reaction, but we don't know more than that. That was, to me, felt like bullet points. 1, 2, 3,
sure.
Done. And if that was much more fleshed out, or dare I even say, call me crazy, what if, the entire episode was about him, debating that with himself, and it was present day, the mangaka had not fled yet, and then we had a second episode later in the series run where we pick that up again, with the threats of, someone coming to get Kobayashi because of what he's done. That could be interesting, but to me, this just feels like a story that could have potential squashed to fit a short runtime that takes out all of the meat from it. It feels very boneless.
Well, because I think if we take the 6 episodes that we've gotten and look at the tone of each of them, the outlier is the first one. The rest of them seem to have been appropriating and deploying a more kind of bouncy, lighthearted tone. And the story that you just mentioned, while good and something I would have liked to have seen, probably wouldn't fit the tone they were going for with the rest of it.
Maybe they shouldn't open the first episode then with that kind of tone, as I complained when we talked about the first episode. First episodes are important, folks, for a couple of reasons. I don't know, setting the stage, laying the table, and if you're going to open, again, to beat the dead horse here, sorry folks, I'll send it to the glue factory eventually, so I'll stop talking about it. If you're going to open with, woman with her nether regions cut off, that leaves an impression. An impression one does not shake easily.
The angel wings drawn in blood behind her on the ground. Yeah,
yep.
That's
totally not strawberry jam.
Referencing, known serial killer.
or studying Scarlet, yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, I don't have any real takeaways from this episode. Like in Lucy's episode, for example, there was the warning of he who sheep among wolves and all that. Be careful what you become if you spend too much time in an environment like Kabukicho. And also the world building they gave, like, it was a dangerous place. I mean, establishing that the Yakuza boss was there was a good thing to do in Lucy's episode, but now bringing him in again, say he's related to Kobayashi, that just passed right over me. Like, in fact, it's the same plot point. He gets stiffed out of money, and he gets it paid back, and that's the end of it. If I were doing this, again, I'm so sorry for the arrogance that comes with that presumption. I really am. But if I were doing this, maybe I would have portrayed the mob boss differently this time around because he's not dealing with a woman. Now, you might say, well, sexism and all that, but then again, characters can be flawed and all that. So maybe he does something, pretty nasty to Kobayashi as punishment for what he's done. To show that, okay, in that case, he was reasonable. In this case, not so much.
But he's nice man, Yakuza. He's your nice papa.
He's Yakuza from the Yakuza series, he looks after the kids and all that. But,
that's right.
I mean, I just really feel, honestly, like watching this show that it could be so much more than it is. And that's even when it's doing the best that it's done thus far. Well, second best, I suppose, compared to the one with Lucy in the previous episode. And that, to me, feels like such a shame. I mean, I've watched shows this year that have been terrible for a variety of reasons, and even those, I certainly felt to myself, you know what, they could be more. Even with a concept as daft as soda cans that turn into women. Like, that could have been more. Or, the classic isekai scenario, except the protagonist is a complete bellend. You could do things with that. Nothing's like, unsalvageable or inviolate. You could do great things with all sorts of stories.
I think the protagonist being a bellend is part of the classic isekai premise at this point.
Probably, but again, you can still do something with that. I mean,
course.
You know what? They did do something that was called ReZero. He was a bellend, and
indeed.
But you and I have got a lot to talk about that when season 2 comes out. But we'll save that for the future.
Oh man,
we're gonna have words.
I forgot that was the thing. Yeah.
We're gonna have words, you and I, lad. So I don't know. I just feel like watching this show that I can see so many different things they could be doing with it that don't require massive changes to the characters or anything like that, or the world. Just to do more with them, to push the pieces around the table, to be more infused about its own concept. I mean, that's the point. When Sherlock again and Watson play so little part in the story, and we don't even get the Rakugo for which the show is named for, does that not speak of a lack of enthusiasm about the core premise to you? That's the Rakugo thing is the thing that makes this take of Sherlock unique, apart from the fact that he seems to enjoy seafood in his coffee. Or
we got the fish again.
Or
Lunch X.
Yeah, or Mystery Food X, yeah. Coming back from Persona 4. Like, I mean, that to me just says we're not really all that bothered about our own premise here, even though it's the one thing that makes us stick out from other Sherlock interpretations and adaptations. When the show itself is not exactly, screaming to me, hey, pay attention to me and all the good things that I can do, I take notice. And I feel very disappointed by that.
Do you think the sticker is significant?
No.
The camel? Was the tracking device?
I can't
also
remember.
Also a camel sticker? Because I can't
remember. I can't remember, but again,
and then Sherlock was playing the app on his phone of the camel.
Oh, Camel Rakugo, yeah, whatever the fuck that was. Nah.
Yeah, I don't get that. Why is he like? I don't understand.
But the thing is, if that is the same thing, though, again, that's like holding keys up in front of a cat or something like that. Like, hey, pay attention to this thing. There needs to be some substance to it. Like, all right, okay. I've got not much more else to add about the episode, to be honest. Like I say, it was okay. It was fine. It feels like episode 4, except it was actually about a character that I care about. Well, not really, but care about at least somewhat, as opposed to not at all.
I just want to know where his Dragon Maid is.
Oh, now you're making me watch Dragon Maid again. That was a show that had a lot of problems in it. Well, not a lot of problems. It had one problem specifically, one particular character who I absolutely hated with a fiery, burning passion. But the rest of it was delightful. And again, and now that I've mentioned that, I'm thinking back to that time I wrote about Dragon Maid and Aka 13, and now it brings it back to Aka 13. I'm thinking, I'm getting that vibe from Sherlock, where I just don't care.
Yeah.
And that's a bad mood to be in. At least if it was something that I could be angry about, like where I could go, holy shit, did you see this stupid moment where the characters are morons? Like in Frank's, funnily enough. You know, like stuff that I could get annoyed about. I would at least be infused about it. But if I have no enthusiasm, positive or negative, that, as I've said in the Aka 13 article I did all those years ago, that to me is more damning than actual negative criticism. And maybe that's, funnily enough, matches with the percentage you mentioned from the site earlier, where half people just don't, like, it's half and half, whatever. Yeah, at least.
I agree. Like, with your kind of meh feeling about it, your unenthusiasm. I don't think unenthusiasm is a word, but it's not like we really dislike this episode or even hate the show at this point. Because, like you said, there's pieces there that could still have plenty of time to be formed into something compelling. It just hasn't done that so far, and even the episodes that have been nice, one of them was really good, and the other one really just left us pretty lukewarm. So yeah, I think the show's got its work cut out for it right now to get good, as they say.
In the fighting game community, get
That's
good,
right.
son. Don't be. Yeah, Sherlock is a scrub, both the show and the character.
Yeah.
I can't see him being good at fighting games, despite how smart he is. He'd
be bad at execution, but good at the mind games.
More than likely. And beyond that, I don't have much else to add. Do you have anything else you want to add, Doc?
I think we have one more patron question from Ayla.
Oh.
She
Good
asks, do you think the Yakuza boss has a former or current relationship with Sherlock, family, or
Oh
otherwise?
my god, I'm so sorry I missed that. No, you're right. I'm going
to say no.
I can't answer that because there's no information to go on one way or the other. Of course,
yes. Just as a pure speculative theory, I'm going to say no, and that is why he is... That's sort of his ulterior motive, I'm going to posit, for being super nice and getting owed favors from all these people in the detective houses because he wants to get close to Holmes somehow.
I've actually said a theory, and I'll pitch this out there for you. What if you recall that Sherlock was denied, tutelage under a Rakugo master? What if that was the fault of the mob boss? What if it had nothing to do with Sherlock's actual skill perceived thereof? Like, it's like, no, this guy, you work for us, Mr. Rakugo man, but he's also super smart and he's doing detective work on the side, and we can't afford that liability.
What if the Yakuza boss is the Rakugo master?
Ooh. That would, I would actually be entirely okay with that if he had those two personalities thing going like Sherlock does, but he uses it to decide what to do with his minions. Like, okay, Bill, I've just had a thought. I think what I'm going to do, I'm going to take my flunky's arm here, because he lost all that money gambling away my money. I'm going to take it. I'm going to put it for a wood chipper. What do you think? Like, no. Wood chippers are expensive. Listen, Jim. I know you love a good wood chipper. I know you do. I know you're a fan of farm equipment and heavy machinery, but we really can't do that. We've got to do something a bit more restrained than that. I mean, how about, for example, I don't know, put a blowtorch to him. Yeah, blowtorches. I love those. I love setting things on fire. Don't you, Bill? No. And then they just have that. I don't know. Like, it could just that could be interesting, and it would be quite terrifying if done appropriate as well for the actual flunkies.
It would.
It'd be something.
Yeah, right. It would be. It would run counter to the theory I just posed, but I'd be fine with it. I think so. I could see either one of those. If I will be a little disappointed, I think, if he just has the same kind of connection to Sherlock as he does everyone else. You know, Sherlock was in some trouble, and the Yakuza boss lent him money.
And then didn't get paid back.
And that's just kind of it, yeah.
He's a shit Yakuza boss, if I'm quite honest. He can't get anyone to pay their dues to him. Oh my god.
Well, Kobayashi paid him back. And did Lucy pay him back? I think Lucy paid him back.
After working at, the club.
Oh, yes.
And
yes.
as
and
for
Kobayashi worked it off at construction.
Yeah, but he didn't do his original job that he should have done. Like, here's the thing I want you to do. Oh, you didn't do it? Well, he can pay you back anyway. Like, oh, come on. You gotta start saying examples.
So... Okay, never mind. I just answered my own question. Forget it. Never mind.
Oh, dear. Do you have any other points you want to bring up, Doc?
No, thank you, Blinkaji and Ayla, for
thank you. I'm so sorry, by the way, I missed your question there, Ayla. That was just... I don't know if that's just fatigue or, like, in general, or if my brain is just, like, turning into liquid. Maybe it's the Alzheimer's. I'm willing to possibly bet on the Alzheimer's. But yeah, thank you very much for putting your questions to us. If you happen to be, as I say, one of those 5 people, not including ourselves, who are watching Sherlock and would like to ask us questions week on week about it, feel free to have a look at our Patreon. You get yourself signed up, for up to $5. Ask us questions. I think it's the $3 tier and higher that allows that. Am I right, Doc?
You are correct, sir.
Yep. So for $3 minimum, you can ask us questions week on week. It could be anything you want. You can ask us who's the best waifu, and you can then say it's got to be the Menno. You can do anything like that you want.
Indeed.
Yep.
Indeed.
You can ask us if we would drink, a calamari coffee. The answer's no.
No, never.
I don't drink this because I don't drink coffee, but calamari, yes, please.
Yeah.
So
if we had to assign fate classes to the Sherlock detectives, what would they be?
Oh.
Any question is fair game.
For some reason, when you said that, I just imagined a visual novel.
I can see it.
I think I'm going insane. Oh my god. Unlimited Sherlock works. Unlimited Sherlocks.
Sherlock's feel.
I'm actually... I never thought I would taste, pure agony as I just did then. Like, it just came in my throat just for a little second, like that little feeling like, surprise, bitch! I was like, no, I don't want that.
No.
So, thanks for that mental image, Doc. I'm actually,
problem.
you know what's actually kind of strange now that I think about it? Why has Sherlock Holmes never appeared in Fate canon?
It's a great question.
I mean, if people want to say, well, he's a fictional character, I'd like to point out that the assassin in Unlimited Blade Works was also a fictional character. Like,
indeed.
If there's one thing I've learned watching Fate, and I know we're not talking about Sherlock again, but fuck it, I'll round this up by saying as much. Like, the Grail does not give two shits for your preconceptions or notions. It will do what it damn well pleases. If you're hero from the future, fine. Fictional hero, fine. Like, it don't care. The Grail does as the Grail wants.
It's true. Do we know if Hercules was real?
Well, is Heracles...
I'm not 100% sure.
Well, the thing is, but that's also a point, like a lot of the Fate characters are from myth anyway. So, I mean, I'll just say though, like, if there's an English dub, at least then get Kevin Sorbo to voice Berserker. Thank fuck for that. Anti-vaccine prick that he is. Anyway, I suppose we should move on, so we will wrap up presently.
That's going to be it for this week's second stream. Thank you very much for listening, for checking us out. Patrons, we love you. Come on in here. Come here. Get in here. We're going to give you a hug right now through the podcast.
I'm reaching.
Big hug.
I'm probably going to break my desk doing it. Oh, shit. No.
Yep. Pat, pat, pat. There it is.
Is this like a group hug of, like, collective, like, soothing? We'll get through this.
We will. We're going to make it. All right. Me and you, we're gonna get through it. Take courage. Take heart. We're gonna make it to the finish line.
We'll get to the bottom of the mystery that is Sherlock, the show.
I'm gonna get you home. Whatever it takes.
Don't you mean get you homes?
Yeah.
Oh, it's too easy. The puns are too good.
But if you're listening to this 2 weeks into the future, and you're not a patron, as Shadon said, you could subscribe over at patreon.com/WateryDesho. $5 tier will get you this show and future second streams, in addition to all other sorts of bonus content, early access, Discord roles, etc., etc. Check it out. If you are not a patron and you still want to help us out in some way for free, first of all, you're valid. We love you. No shame, no
Absolutely.
no judgment. You could subscribe to us on Twitter. Actually, subscribe is not the right word. Follow. Follow us on Twitter. Subscribe to our YouTube channel. SoundCloud follow. You can share our stuff. Leave us an Apple Podcast review. 5 stars, please. And just let us know how we're doing on Twitter. You can email us at warui-desho@gmail.com, etc., etc. If you Google us, you'll find us. But otherwise, that's it. Shadon, if people want to get at you, where can they find you?
They can find me at Shadon1010 on Twitter, and I'm willing to talk about pretty much any topic there is. Save for politics. Just not right now, please. Good God,
not right now.
I deal with enough of it in work. Holy shit! But that's a discussion.
Oh, wow. Boy, you'll have to tell me about how that goes. Okay.
It goes. And also, please don't talk to me about, like, Mouse or any of the other shit shows I've reviewed. Like, I just want my mind to be clear, and pure by the year's end. I've seen some shit, believe me.
Oh boy, wait, we're right there with you. You can find me at The Subtle Doctor on Twitter, or if you're a patron, in the Discord. And I think that wraps up the plugs and the final bits and bobs. So, for Shadon, I'm The Subtle Doctor, and we will see you next time. Embrace each other, everyone, to the ends of the universe.
Good night. Mm-hmm.